Hey guys, welcome to Chapter 11, Topic 1. This is the first chapter in our last unit for this class. Chapter 11 and Topic 1 specifically focuses on the relationship between us and microbes. And in this first topic, we're going to look at the microbiome and the role that it plays within us serving as a host. We've talked a lot about the microbiome this term, but we're going to talk about it a little bit more and hit some of the basics that we've kind of skimmed over already. So why is this topic important? Microbiology is intimately related with human health. The two cannot exist on their own. And as a healthcare professional, it's really, really important that you understand how the human host plays a role in this relationship. And in this topic, especially how our microbiome plays a role as us as human hosts against microbial pathogens. Here are our topic objectives for this chapter, or for this topic. As you can see, there's only 4, so yay for that. But make sure you understand these and make sure that you get any questions you have about it answered, either through email or come see me in my office hours or class. Just let me know so we can work through these together, because I really want to make sure you guys get these objectives down. So, as we get started, the first thing we need to do is we need to define some terms. The first term we need to define is disease. So what is a disease? A disease is any kind of deviation from health. Note that this is not specifically microbial caused. This could be cancer, this could be genetics. There's a lot of different types of diseases. Now, a disease that's caused by a microbial agent is an infectious disease. So that's where that differentiation comes from. So make sure you have those straight. Another important term, and it's kind of misleading because it's on the same slide as these, is colonization. The colonization is when a microbe is present and is multiplying and is living within an environment. This is not like when you get the flu virus and it spreads throughout your body and causes disease. That's not colonization. Colonization is like what our microbiome does, where it stays put, forms a colony, and moves on like that. So note that colonization does not generally cause disease. So there's usually contamination, which is when we get our infectious agents. It does not colonize, and colonization does not lead to contamination. Your book says that, but I wanted to make sure you understood why it was saying what it does. So colonization is generally safe for our microbiome. Alright, so we've talked about this a lot, this term, but our microbiome. It's really large and complex, and we don't know everything that lives in our microbiome. We are still finding it out to this day, what organisms are involved and how important the groups of them are. Right now, the thought is that it's not necessarily which specific microbes we have, but how these microbes are interacting and what kind of products they produce. For instance, in a lot of the gut diseases, they're thinking that when somebody is lacking an entire group of microbes, that's when these diseases are arising, not necessarily because they're missing microbe X. So it's the whole group that's been destroyed that needs to be replaced. And we're still learning about all this. This is what the Human Microbiome Project is. It's sequencing all of the microbes so that we can find out what's going on with our body. Now, one important note, and you'll see these used everywhere, I've tried to stick with microbiome throughout the course, but we do talk about other terms that mean the same thing. You'll hear people talking about normal flora. This is the same idea. It's the flora, the microbes that live on you. You'll also hear people talk about resident biota. That's the same thing, or microbiota. These are the exact same ideas. I prefer microbiome. It seems to be the new term that everyone is starting to use. As I said, we're still just barely starting to understand how this microbiome plays a role in human health and how it protects us. So it not only helps us be our normal healthy state, but how does it protect us from those infectious agents? And we talked a little bit about how some of that works in earlier chapters this term, but this shows you how it works with us. Now, how do these microbes come to live with us? Well, they're really specific, and if you think about the plethora of living organisms that are able to do this, it's fairly astounding, because they have to, number one, be able to live in quite different environments. So for instance, the microbes that live in our skin have quite a different environment than those that live in our gut, and they have to be able to survive that environment and be able to colonize. But not only that, they have to avoid attracting our immune system, because as we'll learn in the next couple chapters, our immune system's really good at detecting foreign pathogens. So how do they manage to avoid this immune system and avoid triggering this to be cleared? And so that's the two different angles of it. And between these two, this has allowed these microbes to evolve with us. So just as we have evolved over time, these microbes have evolved to meet our needs or to further live with us in our microbiome. So make sure you understand that. That's a really important concept of how these microbes have come to exist with us. So how do we get this microbiota or the microbiome? Well, it starts at birth, either through a vaginal delivery or through breastfeeding or just through contact with others. But your microbiome can be altered throughout your entire life. It can be changed by drugs that clear out some of it. It can be changed by your exposure to different things. Your environment can affect it. So potentially it's always an ever-changing environment, and that's why it's important that we understand how our microbiome can be impacted and what those impacts mean for our health. The normal rule of thumb on the microbiome and where we see it existing is on anything that has exposure to the outside. Now, it seems weird because we think of the GI tract doesn't really have exposure to the outside, but it does, right? So that's where it is. Anytime we see that external exposure, so skin, the respiratory tract, any openings, that's where we will find the microbiome. So make sure you understand how that works. This is why people in different environments have different microbiomes. And when we've talked about fecal transplants, why we talk about how when they do it, they want to try to find someone who lives with the person or has a very similar lifestyle to the person, because that means that they will have the most similar microbiome to replace to that person. So you think of all of our externally exposed areas as a lot of our body, but that's not entirely true. There's actually a lot of sterile environment within us that doesn't have a microbiome on it, and it's important to be aware of this. This is why we have, this is why it's really important in surgeries, or if someone gets a puncture infection or a puncture wound or anything like that, that we make sure we get it degermed, because otherwise these normal microbes that live on our skin or in our gut or anything, they get inside of our body, they could cause significant disease. So it's really important that we understand how to maintain that sterile environment within our bodies. So this is the end of topic 1. Please let me know if you have any questions, and as always, I'm available for any questions or if you want to go over this information a little bit more.